Superman director reveals reboot will tackle politics and kindness, tells jerks to screw off. It plays differently, he said. It's about human kindness. And obviously there will be jerks out there who are just not kind and will take it as an offense just because it's about kindness. But screw them!
How dare you want to talk about kindness? I hope these people all realize one day that they are doing so much free marketing for these movies, right? Like just, is this gonna be the shocked Pikachu face when it makes like $1 billion?
From a doomed planet in a distant galaxy to a fantastic underground hideaway, from the fortress of solitude to the bustling city room of the Daily Planet. Look, up on the screen. It's Superman. Superman, the movie.
The movie? Not just the man, but the film. Superman has a problem, y'all. It's not the film's commentary on immigration. Superhero movies is hampered by competing themes and controversial interpretations of character. I mean, that is if we were to take the introductory title cards to the new Superman installment seriously, because to trust him, he's facing a raft of problems. First off, it's been 3 decades since the alien baby named Kal-El fell from planet Earth. 3 years since Superman, David Croswent, revealed himself to the world, and a whole bunch of other descending 3D metrics are hard to keep in your head. In short, what you need to know is the bad guy named the Hammer of Boravia, representing, it would seem, a fictional warmongering and vaguely Eastern European sounding country, just attacked dear old Metropolis. But worst of all, he handed Soups his first ever L, knocking him all the way to the Arctic Fortress of Solitude with a bad case of broken ribs. That all stacks up to a bad morning for our hero, but there are other things that our Cape Crusader has in jeopardy. They won't be all taking place on screen. As numerous reboots for the past couple decades prove, getting this guy right is a contentious question. Because of that, any framing of one of the most well-known and divisive characters in modern pop culture pantheon is bound to elicit widely different opinions on what makes Superman super. And that actually isn't 100% wrong in terms of it's really hard to adapt Superman into movies because, like, he's kind of corny. It's a man in spandex who's like, I believe in truth, freedom, and the American way, and I want to save a cat, and I have the powers of a god, but I don't use them that much because I just want to help people, and also I'm a reporter. I have to put on a costume and pretend to be a human, which is kind of unique. And then his real actual self is what is the superhero costume, the inverse. I'm sure you've all seen the soliloquy in Kill Bill, so you don't need me to rip it off. But yeah, just a guy who walks around being like, I want to help people. And then everyone being like, ah. And then what makes Superman, I guess, a little more interesting is that there are billionaires and supervillains like Lex Luthor who are like, holy shit, that man's a god. He has more power than me, but I have all the money in the world. I don't like that. I'm jealous. And then Lex Luthor wants to take down Superman, at which point the ensuing chaos will lead Superman to have to actually battle, beasts and monsters and robots and all that kind of stuff. But apparently a lot of people are quite mad and upset because Superman, unfortunately, has gone woke. And y'all know what that means.
Already at an all-time high. But with the latest news that we have just heard from Christopher McQuarrie about his vision of Superman and the fact that Henry Cavill would return, the fact that we're hearing this just before the release of James Gunn's Superman puts the pressure at an all-new level. Now, I was excited for James Gunn's Superman when I first heard about it. Then we got the first trailer, thought it was pretty good. I wasn't blown away by it, but I thought it was fine. But I've liked most of Gunn's work over, the past several years. So I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm a Superman fan. So I was thinking this could be very cool. The more we have seen from this movie, the less interested I have become because it's been more about Gunn and less about Superman.
As of 2021, they've changed it. He now says truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. I like that. Oh, so Superman is going slightly more woke. Maybe all these chuds are right. I don't need Henry Cavill in a new Superman movie. What's wrong with all of you? Apparently, there's a rumor that it would have had the old guy who played Superman in the new Superman passing off the torch. Nah, let James Gunn do what he wants. He would have revealed what Superman is most afraid of. My God, says the Mission Impossible director. Who cares?
513,000 upvotes to only 17,000 downvotes. So I don't think that there's a wave of negativity surrounding Gunn Superman at all. I'm not saying that, and I want to be clear about that.
They're really scared about this because this one's tricky, right? Like, it's really easy for them to go after, say, a black superhero. And even if they say, this is not because we're racist, this is because we just want the movies to be good. But then it's weird how you seem to go after any single character that is portrayed by a black person. Like, that's just like universally, if it happens to have a black person, all of a sudden the movie has gone woke, and therefore it will go broke. And then you take these weird victories in the sense that you go and dogpile downvotes on YouTube trailers. Like, the go broke part, I assume, is supposed to be the amount of money it generates. But a lot of those films generate so much money that you can't go by that metric. So you got to be like, we got another victory. We destroyed another movie. We downvoted it, and it's been destroyed. But again, if you were to just take
every time
at Geeks and Gamers trailers and stuff like that, we got Ironheart trailer gets iconic ratio. Once again, it's like, oh, what? This is like a movie featuring a woman who is black, so iconic ratio. No one cares about Ironheart. Why is there a picture from a totally different movie where a guy is doing blackface? Seems strange, but either way, a lot of hatred on The Last of Us 2. A lot of hatred. James Superman rumored story sounds terrible, so we got a terrible Superman there. Okay, that one can track. But yeah, there's a clear and decided pattern where Geeks and Gamers goes with this kind of stuff. What about you, Quarterine? What you got?
In the modern era, Hollywood just can't help itself. Hollywood has to ruin everything. And the new Superman film apparently is no exception. Now, I didn't have a ton of interest in the new Superman film once I found out it wasn't going to be Henry Cavill. No disrespect to the...
Why? What a weird thing. Sorry, do you care about the character? Or do you care about the beefcake playing the character? I mean, it's not Henry Cavill. He doesn't get another shirtless scene. I can't watch that movie.
The actor they chose, I think he actually looks pretty good. But once it was, the Guardians of the Galaxy director, not Henry Cavill, I figured, oh, it's going to be cheesy. It's going to have a million jokes like Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Guardians of the Galaxy was very, very good. But much like Jurassic Park, the order of best to worst Guardians of the Galaxy films start with the first one and end with the last one. Jurassic Park, first one was the best. Everyone after that was significantly worse.
It's all a matter of personal taste. I think I was 1-3-2 for the Guardians of the Galaxy, personally.
With some standouts, but in general, the order of best to worst go from first to last. Yet they keep making them. Superman, we know has been long delayed, long ignored by Hollywood because it is a strong white man that is symbol.
Wait, sorry, that's why they were delaying the film? Because he's too white. He's technically not even a white man. He's an alien. He's a Kryptonian from another planet who gets energy from the sun that gives him all the powers. His real name is Kal-El.
A symbol of America, truth, justice, and the American way, right? This is what we knew about Superman. This is why we knew they weren't going to make another Superman, because they don't want to feature a strong white male character, white male protagonist. We know this. Then they finally figured out a way. And that was to piss on everything that most of us knew about Superman. You see, Superman...
Wait, what? I just want to be completely clear here, so you know the thought process. It is true, once again, that it has been hard to launch Superman franchises. There's been a lot of attempts by different people. I bet you didn't even know Kevin Spacey played Lex Luthor at one point, right? And for better or for worse, some of the attempts have gone in different directions. Zack Snyder's, original Man of Steel film, I think the first 15 minutes of it are actually pretty impressive, showing what life was like on Krypton and the politics behind it, and eventually how the planet got destroyed, all that kind of stuff. But then the film very quickly becomes destruction porn, because that's really all Zack Snyder knows. Like, he's really big on, you know, pew pew, action, explosion. So if you want to watch just like buildings fighting buildings for essentially like the last 40 minutes of the movie, but I mean, that's your thing. That's your thing. But for better or for worse, yeah, it has been hard to capture the excitement of the original Superman series from the 80s. And, you know, there was something to be said about the fact that superhero movies were not the standard film back then. Like, that it was kind of novel. That's why it was Superman the movie, because it was like, oh, this is a Superman, you know, experience, but it has a major motion picture that's going to be in a movie theater. I mean, that is kind of neat. Some of the special effects and the way they did his flight back then was you know, novel and groundbreaking, and you know, the people obviously loved the performance of Superman. Christopher Reeves became iconic for it, and subsequently all the Superman movies, you know, they started to basically degrade in quality over time. The Richard Pryor one is famously known for going too much in the strange kind of comedic direction, and then the fourth one was basically one of those movies that doesn't need to exist, but they just wanted to print cash, and unfortunately it turned out the way it turned out. But with James Gunn, what he was doing is that he's essentially like, I'm a massive Superman fan, have been for a long time. I want to kind of bring back Superman to what Superman used to be, instead of the Christopher Nolan tier, Zack Snyder, hyper-realistic and dark Superman series, right? Like the Man of Steel and the subsequent Schneider films, they tried to kind of do a little bit of what Nolan did to Batman and Nolan's Batman's trilogy. Ground it more in reality as much as you can, for kind of like, you know, an alien that gets superpowers from the Earth's sun that gives him the ability to fly and stuff like that, who's, again, a legal alien who is an orphan raised by a family who loves him just as their own son, that kind of stuff. But that for better or for worse, was kind of something that James Gunn was like, you know what? I want to make an inspiring film, one that like gets to the core of what Superman did for me when I was a kid. Is it going to be terrible? Is it going to be good? I mean, again, hard to know yet until the movie comes out. Pre-canceling a film is such a strange, bizarre thing that like the right loves to do. The guys who hate cancel culture are always canceling films, and then they never take L's. They never take it back after the fact. Like, I don't know if you remember Prey, which was the Predator film that featured both an Indigenous actor as the lead, and she was really, really good, and featured a lot of Indigenous cast members, and actually, you know, collaborated with Indigenous producers and consultants to make the film a little bit more authentic, instead of simply being like the Predator fights a bunch of Indigenous people. We're actually going to, like, you know, do a little bit of work to look up what exactly was this particular Indigenous tribe's culture and heritage, and they even got the dog right. Like, the dog was one of the dogs that, like, you know, that very same tribe historically would have befriended and had as a partner. So like, it was an awesome fucking movie. It was very entertaining, just good film. And they had spent so much time shitting on it for being woke, both because woman and because Indigenous, because they're racist. I mean, Geeks and Gamers even wrote this entire racist fucking article about it, where they were using actual slurs, and then when people pointed out the slurs, they're like, well, we're keeping the slurs in because they're historically accurate for the slurs that were said towards that particular group at that time. I was like, wait, what? That's, first off, the slurs are not used in the movie. You're the one using the slur. And then also, you can't be like, well, it's historically accurate. Well, okay, why don't you run around calling like black people the N-word then? Because apparently that would have been historically accurate for a Klansman or a fucking plantation owner. You could say that. That's a really weird justification for anything. So they are just extreme racists. But it's weird to spin on this one, because now it's just like, okay, well, we're getting what we wanted all along, which is, once again, the protagonist is a white guy, all right? A Jewish man. Well, we're not going to get into the complications of trying to talk about that right now. But in terms of the way he is presenting, a white man. So we have a white man on screen, but that wasn't enough, because they had to woke it. They had to wokeify the whole project. It wasn't enough just to let a white superhero be white, all right? And now we're going to get into the deep and dirty details of this.
Man is 3 years away from a 90-year-old property, and your forced need to change what's worked for over 4 generations is pathetic, on brand for a time where people tried to define cock and balls and having biological men and women. James Gunn, Ensemble, Superman debut, idiot. On June 4th, as reported, new Superman ditches patriotism for politics under James Gunn. No more American way. Now they'll say,
so that you said that happened in 2021. Truth, justice, and the Way changed in 2021. I'm gonna find that. Article from October 16th, 2021 in Variety. Superman changes motto to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, says the DC chief. Superman is officially moving on from the American way. Jim Lee, chief executive officer and publisher of DC, announced on Saturday during the virtual fan event DC Fandom that the Man of Steel's motto will be evolving from the well-known mantra where he fights truth, justice, and the American way. Superman's new mission statement, truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. In a press statement, the company said the decision is meant to better reflect the storylines that we are telling across DC and to honor Superman's incredible legacy of over 80 years of building a better world. In reality, Superman has followed several mantras over the decades, all which involve variations on truth and justice as the central iconic superhero's identity. In fact, Truth, Justice, and the American Way did not originate with the first Superman comic books by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Instead, the saying came from Superman radio serial in the 1940s as a way to cheer on the American military efforts in World War II. I knew it. The American Way motto was revived for the Adventures of Superman TV series that aired in the 1950s during the first days of the Cold War and the height of the McCarthyism paranoia. By the 1960s, the motto shifted to truth, justice, and freedom on the kids' cartoon series, The New Adventures of Superman, but arguably the most well-known Superman adaptation, the 1978 feature film, sorry, I stand corrected, I said the 80s film, it was 1978, I was wrong, starring Christopher Reeve, revived the American Way version, with the Man of Steel speaking the words himself, further cementing it into cultural consciousness as the superhero's credo. Since then, however, the American Way motto has fallen out of favor. On the 1993 live-action series Lois and Clark, Superman fought for truth and justice, just full stop. And in 2006, Superman Returns, starring Brendan Routh, the Daily Planet editor-in-chief Perry White, blithely asked if Superman still fights for truth, justice, and all that stuff. Still fight for truth, justice, and stuff. Just 8 months ago, DC Comics Batman and Superman 16 presented Superman's mantra as truth, tolerance, and justice. So I would say historically it's been changing collectively over a long period of history. Also, interesting to note, if anyone didn't know this, the two creators of Superman were themselves Jewish men, one of whom, the original artist who drew Superman, is a Canadian. So Canadians, the original artist that actually created the way the Superman looks and penned him, was born in Toronto, Canada. So it is a collaboration between Americans and Canadians making art together. And not everyone knows that, but I think it's a pretty fascinating part of our heritage moment.
Well, it's for the it's for the global audience. We don't want to have the American way because we want to make money in China. Well, these films didn't have any problem making money in their day, but it is a global industry now. How about this? An article from this morning. James Gunn, the director, says Superman is about an immigrant. Says that he came from another place and how we've lost the value of basic human kindness. And yes, it is about politics. I'm out.
As a devout Superman fan, I, for one, am shocked to learn that he is from another place. Why'd you have to inject politics into this story? He was an American. Goddamn American icon, I say. The fuck is wrong with you? I mean, I assume, like, not even trying to discredit him here. Even if you don't read the comics or watch the cartoons, even if you've only seen the movies, you probably understand at this point that Superman himself is a literal alien. He comes from another planet. That planet is unfortunately destroyed. He's one of the only surviving members of that planet. However, there are others, and they occasionally in the films will battle each other. But he is a Kryptonian. And his real name is Kal-El, and he arrives to Earth, and then he is raised as an orphan, as the son, again, he is an immigrant, you could say, but also an illegal alien, literally by definition, who comes to America. But now it's just like, oh, fucking woke, get politics out of my story.
I will not be paying to see this movie in the theater, even though I thought the trailer was pretty good. Some actual...
Then why are you led astray? Don't get me wrong, really happy to lose any part of a toxic fan base. It makes the experience better for everybody to not have people in a movie theater being like, oh, I didn't know this was woke. God damn it. He's from another planet.
Facts. In the comics, most of the Kryptonians who Superman had to beat up were dangerous monsters. Zod is an undocumented. As Superman, so is Brainiac. And how about other aliens, like Darkseid? You know, I mean, this is absolute nonsense. And I mean, I don't know why they have this unstoppable urge to destroy our greatest history films? Well, because now they have a chance to say, well, White Man wasn't so good, was he? Let's not forget James Gunn's tweets that were getting brought up. Oh,
If you don't know, James Gunn was canceled, I believe, after Guardians 2 by the right. I can't remember if he was canceled because he was one of the first people who was calling out that serial accused pedophile. What's his face? The cult leader who's in 30 Seconds to Mars, Jared Leto. I can't remember if it had something to do with that. But either way, yeah, he has a fuck ton of weird-ass creepy jokes that he made back in the day, and he deleted because they were creepy jokes that he doesn't stand by, and they're creepy jokes that get brought up every single time James Gunn has the audacity to come forward and be like, hey, I actually don't think that the story of Guardians of the Galaxy would have been possible if I didn't talk about the toxic masculinity and relationships between fathers and their sons, which I wanted to explore in the second film. As soon as that was done, it was like, oh, yeah, well, what about these? Check these out. Do you remember that? Why are you canceling him before the movies even come out, Quarterine?
Be canceled, everything must go wrong. When someone on the left makes jokes, even about little boys, well, they were just joking. So here's the original article. How bad is it?
They were gross. I agree. They were shitty jokes. I'm glad he deleted them, and I'm glad he doesn't stand by them. That's what people ask of other people, right? Like it's not as if like, hey, and the left thinks that they're absolutely hilarious that he made all these weird jokes. And it's like, no, they were gross. It's a good thing he deleted them. What more do you want him to do?
Really? Well, James says Superman is about an immigrant that comes from another place and how we've lost the value of basic human kindness. Yes, it's about politics. He also says Superman director reveals reboot will tackle politics and kindness, tells jerks to screw off. It plays differently, he said. It's about human kindness. And obviously there will be jerks out there who are just not kind and will take it as an offense just because it's about kindness. But screw them! Yeah.
How dare you want to talk about kindness? I hope these people all realize one day that they are doing so much free marketing for these movies, right? Like, just, is this going to be the shocked Pikachu face when it makes like $1 billion at the box office? Are you going to be, oh God, I thought it was going to go broke, but it went woke? Because, yeah, I had no interest in seeing this in theaters because I'm burnt the fuck out on superhero everything. Superman is not my particular franchise. I'm not massively huge on it. You know, I like Wolverine, I like the Punisher, I like Batman, but whatever. I'm also just done with superhero movies. It's just too many. Every other week, have you seen the Blue Beetle? Have you seen the Flying Squirrel? Have you seen the Rancid Diaper? The coming to life, finally, you know, it's going to be amazing. This one is really the superhero movie you gotta see. And now, for the first time, I actually have interest in watching this just because of how pissed off all of the right have been by actually learning what the story of Superman is. Like,
yes, it's about politics, he said, but on another level. It's about morality. Do you ever not take a life no matter what? Which is what Superman believes. Or do you have some balance, as Lois believes? It's really about their relationship and how a differing moral perspective can pull two people apart. He did not immediately respond. Now, is it about politics in the broader sense that it's like, okay, yes, deciding on, you know, even the Batman rule, right? Like, I don't take a life because that's not what Batman does. That's not what Superman does, you know?
It depends on the interpretation, by the way. I don't know if you've watched the Tim Burton movies. Batman takes a lot of lives. It's got goddamn fucking Gatling guns built into the Batmobile. Just fire rounds of bullets. Breaks a lot of the rules. He changes the origin story of the Joker. He changes the origin story of Batman. He just fucking unleashes hell. Just straight up, it's like, Batman doesn't kill anybody. Like, I mean, that didn't save the Joker. Blop. Yes, I do. I don't give a fuck.
I tie him up, I leave him hanging from a building. Whatever that case may be. Is that political? I don't think so. Every major news outlet is running with this story. Yes, it's about politics. Now, you could dig deeper into the headline and say, okay, he said it's about morality, which is inherently political, but he's also said it's an immigrant story. But I'm pretty sure Superman was actually adopted. He was...
Lance likes Batman because he likes billionaires and cops. Yeah, billionaires and cops is why I love Batman. Yep.
A legal U.S. citizen, right? I mean, he did crash here as a baby, but he didn't like cross the border.
He didn't say Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins either. Well, I mean, that one's kind of, they really play fast and loose with the mythology there, right? Isn't he like, but I don't have to save you, and then just lets him die? And yeah, technically, I guess he didn't, well, he kind of did kill him, you know? If someone is like, help me, because they're like about to drown, and you're like, no, then you did kind of let them drown. Not that it really matters. Again, there are Batman adaptations where Batman is just a mass murderer and a serial killer.
On purpose. You know, this says, for months, James has been doing the impossible, keeping politics out of Superman in an era where everything is viewed through a culture war lens. He was walking a tightrope.
I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. That's the line, right?
Putting an American icon without triggering the red versus blue meltdown, and until now it was working. However, with just 5 days before release, the dam's broken. In a newly published The Times of London interview, Gunn makes it crystal clear, Superman just isn't about truth, justice, and brightly colored capes. It's about current day America. The filmmaker behind Guardians of the Galaxy and now DC Studios co-chief is no longer avoiding the culture wars. Superman is a story of America, he said, an immigrant coming from another world trying to make a life here. But for me, it's mostly about basic human kindness is a value that we've lost. I don't agree with that. I think basic human kindness is something that is still very strong in America.
Then delete your channel. Delete all of them. Seriously, if you believe that to be true. You are a hate peddler. All you do is peddle hate. You do that for a living. You profit off peddling hate. You vilify minorities all day on your channel. You make their lives scarier. That's what you do. You put that out there and then wonder. It's kind of weird sometimes when people kind of just enact violence towards trans people, or like kids want to beat up trans kids. Why does that happen? Weird. Anyways, here's my video on why there are so many trans serial killers and why it turns you into a serial killer and why every single trans person needs to be removed from society. Blah, blah, blah.
Like very, very strong in America. I mean, there's no doubt about it, in my opinion, anyway. You know, that's I just.
Omega Star, thank you for the $4.99. Don't you want to call me baby? I believe that's probably from the very start of the stream. Sorry, I missed the dono there. So the quartering is worried. He's pre-canceling. Says it's going to be bad. What about you, Pool? Pool's got to have some thoughts.
Called Woke and Terrible in a leaked review, basically outlining the plot of the entire movie. Spoiler alert. Well, they've deleted the review. It was published on a third-party website, not through the Daily Beast, but it was a Daily Beast reporter or critic or whatever you want to say, who wrote it up saying that it was dull, it was boring, or that it was the final nail in the superhero cinema's coffin. It's also being described as woke by a bunch of different outlets and individuals. I'm still going to see it. I think the trailers look good. I think James Gunn, despite, I kind of don't like the guy personally, for the political things he said. Now, maybe it's professionally. I don't know. I don't know him personally. But.
So I just want to be clear for the people who don't understand the history of Superman. Apparently, even the creation of Superman itself was a response to Nazism. And his very existence is actually an anti-fascist symbol. And I don't know like how deep you want to get into that kind of stuff, but there's lots of articles that talk about the history of it. How Nazi Germany prompted the creation of Superman. There's a real sense of Americanism within the iconic DC comic hero Superman, and equally, it's easy to perceive as one of the best-known Caped Crusaders or heroes, something of a Christ-like figure. Much has been made of the religious tones of Superman's narratives, but the truth is he has far more in common with Judaism than he does with Christianity. Superman was, in fact, created by writer Jerry Siegel and artist Joe Shuster, two children of Jewish immigrants to North America who fled Europe amid the growing anti-Semitism of the early 20th century. With a heritage of persecution, the two young men set about creating a superhero capable of helping those in trouble. During an interview with Den Geek, Siegel once explained, "What led me into creating Superman in the early 30s, hearing and reading of the oppression and slaughter of the helpless, oppressed Jews in Nazi Germany, seeing movies depicting the horrors of privation suffered by the downtrodden. I had a great urge to help the downtrodden masses somehow. How could I help them when I could barely help myself? Superman was the answer." Siegel set about weaving several parts of Jewish history and folklore into Superman's story. For instance, male Jews were ordered to be drowned in the Nile in Egypt. However, Moses, the Jewish savior, was saved after he placed a small boat in the river, analogous to the way Superman was placed in a small spaceship when his planet was on the verge of destruction. In the very act of leaving his homeland, Superman is akin to millions of Jews who were displaced, not only during the Nazi era Germany, but also countless instances before that. Perhaps the nature of Clark Kent's secret identity also mirrors the way that several Jews stepping off the boat in North America were wont to keep their faith a secret, save for further persecution. The creation of Superman was a way for both Siegel and Schuster to better understand the injustice that had been done to the people of their heritage over in mainland Europe as the Nazi Party began to take full control. In one version of the comic book, Superman actually fought the Nazis, even prior to the United States joining World War II. Continuing to explain why they made Superman in the first place, Siegel noted, quote, "It was a place and time where juvenile weaklings and wave faces, especially Jewish ones, who were more likely to get sand kicked in their face by Adolf Hitler and the bully down the block, dreamed that some way the world would see them for the superheroes they really were. Superman then became a symbol for the downtrodden, standing up to their oppressors at a time when they were not able to physically do so. Though Superman is often related to the Christian faith, he arose out of necessity for Jewish Americans to better understand the position they and their families have been placed into, and as such, he will remain Jewish at heart." I think that's fascinating and, you know, an important part of history. Superman was anti-fascist. The rise of the comic book strip in the United States was also strongly influenced by Jewish immigration. It was Jews who invented heroes like Superman, Batman, and the Spirit, and then sent them out to do battle with the Nazis. In his Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, American author Michael Chabon recounts a tale that is both touching and comic. It is about two young men who arrive uncertain of themselves as Jewish immigrants from New York to the 1930s. Having fled from Eastern Europe, they attempt to eke out a living in the comic industry, which was booming at the time for such illustrated short stories told in a few pictures and printed on cheap newspaper, were becoming ever more popular and fast emerging as a mass medium. It's also like wild that in the Krypton Superman has a Hebrew name. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that part. It's also wild that like someone like Zack Snyder took Superman and just turned him into Jesus, like just straight up. Like if it wasn't strong enough of a metaphor with the whole, you know, him doing the cross and then being carried by the people and all that kind of stuff. Just moments in church, you know, where he's like talking to priests and stuff. Like Schneider definitely wanted to be like, yeah, he's Jesus. That's what he is. He's a god arriving from somewhere else, and that God is our savior. That makes him Jesus. He is officially Jesus. After all, Siegel and Schuster had a long time and not been only Jewish illustrators seeking success in the comic book industry since the beginning of the 20th century, when the artists were the pioneers of the comic strip exhibition also began putting colored pen to paper. The disproportionately high number of Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe worked on the strips, which initially appeared in newspapers, but from the 1930s onward were also published in their own purely comic book based magazines. Many of these immigrants had come to the United States virtually penniless, becoming comic book illustrators not out of a great passion, but simply because they were unable to make a living as artists, and because by drawing comics they could not only make a good living, but a living nonetheless. Not only Superman, but also Batman, Captain America, Spider-Man, and the Fantastic Four were the creations of Jewish illustrators, although comic book artists frequently Americanized their names so the roots were unrecognizable. Bob Kane, the illustrator behind Batman, was actually Robert Kahn. Comic book legend Jacob Kurtzberg, who worked on the series The Fantastic Four, worked under the name Jack Kirby, while illustrator Stanley Lieber shortened his name to Stan Lee. Some exhibitions over the past few years in Berlin and Paris also saw the Jewish Museum in Frankfurt, Superman and Golem in 2009, have now brought the stories of the illustrators back into the public limelight, and in the meantime, the Jewish roots of the comic have been explored extensively by scholars too. Again, fascinating stuff, and it's incredible that so much of this has its roots in anti-fascism and anti-fascism art, essentially. And these are some of the most like central and famous and well-recognizable comic book and superheroes in history, ever.
Movie-wise, he does a pretty good job. So we will see. But now we've got this video clip of his brother, Sean Gunn, saying, if you don't like immigrants, you know, something or other, will play the clip, basically saying, Superman's an immigrant, here we go. And then James Gunn said...
I don't get how else you define it. I know we haven't experienced that yet on Earth, right? But if someone did come from another planet to America, would you not consider that to be an immigrant? Dare I say, an illegal immigrant? Superman doesn't like cross through the border. He doesn't apply for a green card. He doesn't apply for a visa. He simply is someone who luckily is not discovered by anyone other than a loving family in Kansas. And that loving family in Kansas raises him as their own. And as a child, he's not aware that he in fact actually even came from another planet. So, and now knowing the true origins of the superhero, a lot of it does really make sense in terms of the way the story is being told.
I don't have anything to say to anybody spreading hate. Oh, God, here we go. All right. There's a scene in the trailer. So this is not a spoiler, by the way. It's in the trailer, where Lois Lane is interviewing Superman and says, you know, you stopped a war. You didn't consult the president. And he's like, people were going to die. She says, you illegally entered a foreign country. You didn't consult anybody. That's an interesting concept in Superman lore about truth, justice, in the American way, and the effect he would have on other nations. I'm interested to see this. I don't see anything as of yet indicating the film itself will be woke. I do, however, agree with this leaked review. Yo, the trailer looks chaotic and convoluted.
Why are they all still doing this? I thought they all did a victory lap after Trump, where they were like, we did it, we won, woke is dead. And it's like, well, I guess whatever the fuck you think woke is. What? So, by the way, there wasn't the end of the oppression of minorities in America. That never happened. So there wasn't like a victorious moment where you could pinpoint that the rest of people, the general public, became woke and became aware of the suffering of other people. That never happened. There was ideally what felt sometimes like a growing trend towards that. Like more people wanted to learn more, and more people wanted to, in solidarity, stand up for other causes. Whether it was, you know, the amount of, white Canadians who were standing up for Indigenous Canadians when they found out about the residential schools, or the fact that people internationally were marching in the Black Lives Matter movement to fight against, again, the disproportionate amount of police violence that Black people experience, not only in America but in other countries as well, including Canada, stuff like that. Like I that's when you start to feel inspired by these kind of movements, right? Even though the mainstream media was like, but what about the fires and the targets and the violence, and they were not violent, blah blah blah. So that's in some sense you could feel, but like materially, like there wasn't a significant change. There was no defunding of the police on any mass scale. If you compare the amount of median wealth between a white family and a black family in America, it's still 10 times for the average white family versus the average black family. That is actually in a downward trajectory right now, which again, these are things that we should all be collectively learning and talking about, and in our quest for wokeness, right, to achieve the ultimate woke. But then Donald Trump gets elected a second time, and then he comes into power, and then once he comes into power, they're like, all right, so DEI is done. We're getting rid of all DEI programs. We're stripping every single person who isn't white of all their titles. We're getting rid of names. If you're gay, we're getting rid of the name on a boat. So Harvey Milk, you're gone. We're stripping, trans athletes of all their awards. And if you don't do that, we're going to crush you. Every single corporation, you better fall in line. There we go. There's no flags on the pride. We're happy about that. Basically, just Nazi shit. The Nazis are back. Like just full fascism. We're going to go after all these vulnerable groups and minorities. And then once everyone is on board with that kind of stuff and fascism rises and there are more and more Nazis than ever before, then we can start going over the different kinds of whites. We can talk about which whites are the pure whites. We can't talk about those Roma people. They're deplorables. They need to be rounded up as well. I don't know how I feel about Irish and Italians. Yeah, it's I'm sorry, but this is Nazism. This is the kind of shit that happens, right? The persecution of vulnerable groups and honestly, they're building the camps. The camps are being built. The budget is there. ICE, aka Trump's personal army / Gestapo, that now is fully funded. So they are going to expand. This stuff is the reality that we find ourselves in. Why are y'all still concerning yourself with if media, movies are too woke or not woke enough, right? Did you really think that, like, in some way you won, you got total power, you got an authoritarian on his way to being a dictator leader who's effectively controlling all the branches of government and the courts as well. So I don't know how much more you can be winning, and then it's still just like, we gotta talk about this movie. All right, now I had high hopes because again, movie features a white guy, which we never see. You never see white people as the stars of films. That just doesn't happen anymore. So this was incredible. Big victory for the whites. But then, in addition to that, they're trying to say that he's not even a man, that he's like an immigrant, an alien from another planet, and this alien from another planet illegally arrives in the United States and then is raised as an orphan by a loving family, and it's about kindness and empathy and how we need to have more kindness and empathy. The fuck is this shit? Woke as fuck.
I mean, like, if you've watched the trailer, how many villains do they show? How many heroes do they show? It seems like a spattering mess. Now, this
I like how every one of them is like, I like the trailer. It was cool. And now it's like, oh, sorry, it's woke? Fucking, it's a disaster. How many characters are there? Yeah, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be so shitty.
Review, again, basically outlining the entire plot of the movie. Like crazy. Like if you read the review, it's not a review. It's a synopsis. It's a spoiler. All it does is tell you the story while complaining that it doesn't like it. Right? Well, they've taken it down, but it is up. And now you've got this this clip going viral and concerns the film will not do well.
Well, what are they going to do? They have no goddamn culture? I mean, that's part of it too, right? It's the inability to actually generate or create art, which is why I think that, you know, AI art has become, I'm going to put art in quotation marks, but AI generated pictures and video has become very synonymous with fascistic movements, because to them, the idea of creating something is as simple as typing in a prompt or a series of prompts. And even those series of prompts, which are just directly ripping off the footage from other films, like you see that new one that they're all touting, like Grums and Keemstar and all those guys, are like, oh man, the movie industry's dead. This trailer looks cooler than anything else that's out there right now. And you watch the trailer and you can pick out each shot that's stolen from something else. That's from Dune. That's from Star Wars. That's from Lord of the Rings. Like, you can just see the literal shots that they are stealing in those clips. And I know what you typed into the prompt, right? The heroic younger hero with blue eyes holding majestic sword. Sword looks unique. Points sword at screen. Suddenly, evil villain approaches screen. Very pale white skin. Creepy eyes. Mask goes over their faces. Like, all that kind of stuff. But, like, you're not creating. You're not writing. Like, I as of right now, there's nothing more than trailers because of how expensive it is to generate this kind of stuff. But wait until someone tries to make a full length or even a short. Wait until there's a 10-minute short that comes out where it's just like, all right, we have our first AI generated short that can enter film festivals. It looks like it's a $1 billion budget and it was made for $1,000 by one guy, and look how good it is. And like, writing is not easy. You're going to realize that so quickly. If you have spent your entire lives being like, I loved a handful of movies, but I hate all the new ones, and it's because they suck and I want to make my own, you'll realize so quickly how tough that can be, even if it seems like really rudimentary shit. Even if it's just like, I'm going to make a science fiction film about a hero who finds a majestic sword, you know, and that sword is the one true sword, and then they go forward. All right. What's the arc? Are you basing this on the hero's journey? What's the villain? How does the hero go and have an experience and transform and evolve over the course of the story? Do you have a crescendo? Is there a love interest? Is that love interest, genuine? Do people feel it's contrived? Does it distract from the story itself? Are they going to call you gay? All this kind of stuff, right? Like, you're going to realize very, very quickly that, yeah, maybe there's a lot more that goes into this than simply, I can type in a prompt being like, make me a good superhero movie based on a character like Superman, but is not Superman, but is super awesome, and also have lots of hot chicks in it with giant titties, and then make them wear really like tight clothing so I can see their breasts and have the breasts jiggle, and then maybe have a gratuitous amount of the breasts jiggling, and maybe I'm more focused on that than anything else. Maybe make this just about the breasts. In fact, you know what? Maybe just make this about a planet that only is filled with women with giant breasts, and they're all running around and giggling, and maybe they're all running towards me, and then I'm in it, and then they won't stop chasing me, and then I'm like, tee hee, and then I run away, and then they're all like, ooh woo, and then they like try to tackle me, but I'm just too fast for them until I'm not, and then things get really interesting, and then yes, and enter, and then we'll see how that turns out.
I'm gonna tell you, I think it's gonna do well. I am still going to go see it. It is Superman. And my favorite.
Chat's just like, what is this coming out? Take my money. I will pay an ungodly amount of money to see that movie. Well, shit. Maybe I just disproved my point. Maybe it is way easier to write a film that everyone's interested in.
Out of the writing so far, is the actor who plays Mr. Terrific saying that he's wearing blackface. I kid you not. So those that don't know Mr. Terrific, the character is child prodigy, billionaire genius, inventor with multiple PhDs. And he's got this white jacket. It was like a white and black and red jacket. And his mask is a T over his face. And as you know, masks in superhero-dom tend to be black masks over the face. You know, like Batman or Robin. So Mr. Terrific is in the shape of a T, which covers most of his face. And the actor says, I don't know, that looks like blackface. Okay. This is where we're at these days. Anyway, let me, here you go, screen.
Superman's Mr. Terrific actor reveals the part of a superhero costume he really struggled with. Eddie Gathetti reveals surprising reaction to the mask, has offered a remarkable candid look into the process of becoming Mr. Terrific and James Gunn's Superman, revealing that his initial reaction to the hero's signature T-shaped mask was one of concern and confusion. During a visit to the set of the upcoming DC Universe film, he explained to Comic Book that his first encounter with the character's design in the comics was jarring, as he initially perceived the mask as resembling blackface. The actor's perspective on the iconic look only shifted after he delved into the source material and came to understand the inverse technological function behind it. Where's the contrast? Like, I feel like every single time there's a story, it's like, you'll never believe this, wait until you hear. And then you read the actual story, and it's like, okay. A black actor who got hired, who saw this for the first time, was like, hey, what's this all about? Read about it, and then afterwards was like, oh, neat. That's the fucking story. Listen, quote, the face mask was something that I struggled with the very first time that I saw it in the comics. Not understanding who Mr. Triforce was, the face mask resembled blackface to me. So I saw it, and I'm like, what is that? And it wasn't until I dove into the comics and understood the technology and the purpose and the functionality of the mask that it became a cool mask, something that's actually functional. This is nanotechnology that can actually appear on his face, but it protects his entire face, he explains. So this is not the area that protects it, it protects the entire face. This is just a manifestation of where the mask is. It is very comfortable because it's been molded to my face, it's pliable. If you touch it, you probably freak out because it's not what you would expect. It looks kind of hard, but it's not hard. You see how I can do my facial functions. Sorry, what? Where's the controversy? You'll never believe this. He thought the mask was actually blackface. Turns out it's not. But he actually had a okay, neat. It was neat to find that fact out about the movie, and that a guy who was portraying this character had that concern, and that he read about the comic book, and then after reading about the comic book, he was like, oh, okay, then that's what the character's all about. And then, like, he learned the lore. There's the story behind it.
Brent. Superman's Mr. Terrific actor reveals the part of a superhero costume he really struggled with. You know, he's wearing a mask that has a chin portion and an upper portion, and then there's lips.
It looks really cool. It does.
Where he said, listen, the face mask was something that I struggled with the very first time I saw it in the comics, not understanding who Mr. Terrific was. The face mask resembled blackface to me, so I saw it and I went, what is that? And it wasn't until I dove into the comics and understood the technology.
What's this? I'm trying to map the multiverse. There are infinite Earths, each with their own history based on choices our other selves have made.
I'm only concerned about one.
Actually, while we designate our Earth, Earth 1, it stands to reason that our other selves would do the same. Interesting, don't you think? So what do you need?
More of your T-spheres.
May I ask?
Jean, how about you come along and keep me company?
Jean.
The Justice League currently has 23 active missions in progress. Only I can properly deploy what remains of our resources.
Oh, please. Mr. Terrific can fill in. He's smart enough to do monitor duty and the Sunday Times crossword at the same time.
Go ahead, Jean. I'm already finished with the cross.
And that's why he said no to the movie. I know. It's like, okay, this would never happen for a white character who had concerns about a costume he was about to wear, and then express those concerns in an interview about the character and learning about the character itself. Like, where it's just like, yeah, I didn't know a lot about it, and then I was just kind of concerned because when they showed me the costume that I was wearing, at first I was like, that looks a little bit kind of like a robe that I felt uncomfortable with wearing because maybe it would invoke that I was like a Klansman or something. But then I learned that I'm not. It actually has a completely different origin story, and it was really cool to learn that. And then I actually learned about the character, and that was fascinating. Neat.
You did it in ink again, didn't you?
Mr. Terrific is more than capable, but I insist on remaining where I'm needed.
Bizarro showing up again, and all the odd teams of previously unaffiliated villains.
Whose brains have conveniently been shorting out when we question them.
It's not the first portrayal of a live-action Mr. Terrific either.
Hello?
Oh, and the Green Arrow. I don't watch the TV shows.
Anybody here?
Yes, we are here, Curtis, and we just can't wait to hear how you use the cell phone that we gave you to help us rescue Dr. Palmer, to track us back to our...
Oh, shit.
Secret lair.
Okay, so we don't need to take out the bees, we just need to take out larvae. Yeah, well, it doesn't make much sense if we can't get inside.
Is that to keep the show PG-13? Do they do that a lot? Instead of going fuck, they say frack?
You're the... And wait, you're... Wait, you're... just so you guys know, if I pass out, it's because I'm sick, not because, you know.
So can anybody just walk in here?
This is somewhere in Vancouver, by the way. I don't know where, but the whole thing I think was filmed in Vancouver. That's where I'm from. Yeah, I know. I don't watch the TV shows because I find them a little too corny. But, you know, I enjoy a handful of the films. And all of these, you know, creep shows getting so mad about the weirdest things is honestly making me want to watch this movie more. You are doing more to market this film than any of the trailers have so far. Like, you watch the trailers and you're like, yeah, neat. Looks like a Superman movie. And then you're like, I guess I'll watch it when it comes out on digital downloads or whatever. And now it's like, wow, if this is infuriating the Chuds pre-release, I can't imagine what it's going to be like post-release.
And then at the end of the movies, they did this end credit scene hinting at the next film. In Iron Man, he meets with General Ross, which then the Hulk movie comes out. And then they changed, you know, Edward Norton got switched out for Mark Ruffalo. But what they did was they created singular story movies about the one character, and then the Avengers. The Avengers brought them all together as an ensemble, and it was awesome. DC was like, let's skip all that and just do Justice League. They wanted to jump ahead. They introduced the mother boxes, and everyone's like, I have no idea what's going on. The good thing about what Marvel did was that by creating singular movies that told a story, you were introduced to plot elements like the Infinity Stones. You understood the power of the object, and then when they said the Infinity Gauntlet, you're like, oh, all those things from each other movie. So when they created the ensemble, you kind of understood. Now, to be fair, in Avengers...
Gems. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be put in the awkward position of having to defend the DC-verse, because I really don't care, to be totally honest with you.
Actually, there were multiple films released before the Justice League, including Wonder Woman and Man of Steel, as well as Batman versus Superman, and they were beginning to build on it. Zack Snyder actually wanted to release other films. They didn't have the budgets for them. They were going to make a cyborg film, but unfortunately...
Not my fight. Yeah. Have at it. Go nuts.
It's just Loki. You already knew who Loki was. It was effectively a sequel to all the other movies. You knew the characters were, so you understood what was going on. With DC, they were like, we made Superman. Now let's make Superman fight Batman. That introduces Batman. Then we'll do Justice League and introduce a bunch of other characters. And who's Steppenwolf? What's a mother box? None of it was easily understood at all. Then they started making, I think after that they did Wonder Woman. And said, no.
Was it in that order?
They needed to introduce each character.
I can't even correct him there.
They tried doing Snyder's versions as more serious and dark. Yeah, no, this is a good turnaround. These movies are for fun. And so you want to be serious, but still silly in some regards, like the Marvel movies did. And DC tried to go way dark and serious. Shazam was awesome. And it's a shame. They did take it in a bad direction, in my opinion. They could have done so much more with it, but Shazam was awesome, and it was a big success for DC. So hopefully Zachary Levi stays as Shazam into this new era. But once again, what are they doing? The big concern I have with the Superman film is not wokeness, to be honest. I think the politics might be interesting, so long as it's not overtly woke.
So the order was Man of Steel, 2013. Wow, that was a long time ago. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, 2016. Then Suicide Squad, 2016. Then Wonder Woman, 2017. Then Justice League, the first version, 2017. Second one coming out, 2021. Then Aquaman. Then Shazam. Then Birds of Prey. Oh, yeah, fuck, I don't even remember that one. Then The Good Suicide Squad, 2021. Then Black Adam, which I have not seen and don't really intend to. Then Shazam, Fear of the Gods, don't intend to. Then The Flash. Watch that because I wanted to see what a spectacular, and it delivered, train wreck of a film that was. Oh boy. And then Blue Beetle, which I actually saw on a plane, which was okay. I was actually surprised that Blue Beetle, of all of them, was actually fun. You know, I just like that they tried to do something new there. So, but yeah, just a lot of train wrecks after train wrecks after train wrecks. Honestly, the entire DC universe films is one of the reasons why I'm kind of tapped out on superhero movies at all. Because you're just like, who cares? There's so many. There's so many. Every week there's a new one, and then you have to compete with the Marvel ones, and then after the Marvel ones, there's the other shows. And have you watched the shows too? Or are you watching Peacemaker? Or are you watching Superman 5? Or... I haven't heard of most of these. Well, there you go. I mean, those are hours and hours of your life that you have to do with whatever you wish that I do not.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Salim, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwick, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons. Head on down to patreon.com/theserfs. That's patreon.com/theserfs.